computer, and away we go. Good. Right, well, welcome everybody. So good to see you here. Now, for those, I know a few of you have done a few of these workshops, some when we used to, in the old days when we used to do them face to face. Now we're in sort of the 21st century and able to reach, you know, as far field as Andover. So that's how far the internet goes these days. So which is good to hear that Andover have got internet. So for those that haven't been onto workshops before, this is what we cover. So there's 6 in the series, and they go through self-mastery, time management, finance, marketing, sales, customer, and this is sort of the last one in the series, sort of on team mastery, and then we sort of rotate again as we come into the next quarter.
So what's the first one?
So time management is normally the first one of the quarter, and then they rotate through. It depends when you start, you know, because they just rotate anyway. So
no, I started on time management, so that'll have been me through them. So
have you been all of them?
I listened to your video of the second one.
Okay.
But I believe
you've ticked the other ones off as well. Cool.
I think so. I wouldn't say I've learned everything.
Well, I always say, look, you know, do come again because there's a different audience. I do tweak it every time I put it up there because I add bits and take bits out. And you know, often when you come again, you'll be at a different position and you'll just take a different level of learning from it each time. So it's always worth coming, you know, once or twice a year to these and gain a little bit more knowledge as you go through. So what I'd like you to do is just in the chat box, if you can, just make a quick note of, you know, what's one thing key thing you'd like to get out of today's workshop. So you're all managing team. Okay, here's the people that can read it, simple instructions and book on. So while you're doing that, I'll just send the link across. So just one thing you'd like to get out of today's workshop in relation to your own management of your team. If you don't have a team, if it is just you, think about, you know, managing yourself, but probably thinking slightly ahead of you know, when you do have a team, what potentially would be, or what worries you, what your challenges will be. So I will just, while you're doing that, just send this link through. Okay, cool. Should be Gary join us in a little while, so get rid of that. Go back to them. Assume you can still see what's on the screen, can you? Okay. Excellent. So there we go. Back to there. Good. So where's my chat box gone? So we've got improving teamwork from Claire. Yep, supporting teams morale. Great. That is a big one at the moment. You know, the mental side, mental health can be open with team and give more information. Yeah. So it can be too open with the team, give more information needed. Okay. So getting that balance right of what they need to know, what's useful for them to help them move forwards and what isn't.
Yeah.
The common goal, yeah, good. Prioritizing work with a team, level of flexibility to work program rosters. Okay, so that's quite a specific one, Ranjit. So we'll see if we pick that up. If not, then if there's any specific questions we go, then do ask those as we go. So so really, what we're looking at here is the whole thing of having a team is, the concept of together everybody achieves more. So how do we get more done through our team than we can do on ourselves? If it's always down to us, then we're going to limit what we can actually do. And I think one of the key things for me is having a team really should be fun. The only reason for having a team is that you can have fun doing it. If running a team is just boring hard work, then we're sort of doing it wrong. Okay, now there are challenging times when we run a team. There's no sports team out there doesn't go through challenging times, but it shouldn't always be a slog. It should actually, the team working together should actually be an enjoyable place to be. So the key things, and I use this at the start of every workshop that I do, is my little formula for life success. So who do I need to be? What do I need to do? What do I want to have? So have is my dreams and my goals. Is my attitude, knowledge, and skills, and do is what do I need to actually do. So one of the key things I find with people that are building teams, probably building teams for the first time, is they haven't got the skills because they haven't done it before and they haven't learned how to do it properly. They're not necessarily doing the right things, and they're certainly not planning it. But the big one is the goal, the dream, the vision of what a great team looks like. So if you've never built a great team, it can be actually quite difficult to actually build one. It's like if Ranjit's an architect, if you've never built a house before, then actually building your first house is probably going to be a bit of a challenge. If you've never built a team before, then building that first team can be quite a challenge. If you've come from a background where you've built teams all the time, then pretty much it's still a challenge, but you're just better at it. You've got the skills that you need. So one of the first things you need to do is, is my little phrase here, that you sort of get the team you deserve. So your team is a generally a reflection of your ability to be a great leader. So if you look at your team and think, oh my God, that team is not working, it's not performing, it's letting me down, then that is a reflection of really who you are and your level of be-do have. So one of the first things I think you've got to do within this is be aware of that. Too many people just think, well, it's a team I've got. Maybe I know, Ali, you've come into a new business and you've been there a year, and it's like, well, I've been given this team, and I've got to make the team work that I've got. There's nothing that says you've got to keep the same team. If you look at a football manager that goes into a football team, okay, there'll be limitations. You can't just get rid of everybody and start again. But over a period of time, you want to replace the bad ones with better ones, train up the good ones to be better as well. But you've got to have this visualization of what does your good team look like. Okay, now this is where you're sort of looking as a manager, as a director, as a business owner. Your ability to visualize into the future is one of your key strengths. That's what you should be doing more of, to be able to actually think further ahead. Now, I do this in my sort of self-mastery sort of workshop. Is really about those different levels, the entrepreneurial levels that employees generally think a day to a week ahead. Managers should be thinking a week to a month ahead. Senior managers, directors should be thinking a quarter to a year ahead. So we should be thinking about It's not necessarily the team that we've got now, but the team that we want to build. And you should be able to almost sort of write down a vision of what your great team looks like. Okay, so be visualizing. So it's not what I've got at the moment, but in 6 months' time, 3 months' time, 12 months' time, this is the type of team that I really want to build. What does a good team look like? How are they behaving? What are they actually doing? Because if you don't set that standard in your mind, then you will just start to accept what you've got. And as soon as you accept what you've got, I think you're in a trend that's not going to go anywhere. Yeah, and then you start making excuses and making blame, and it drags you down as a manager. So first thing, be clear what you want to have. What does a great team for me look like? And it will be different. If you look at football coaches, one football coach vision of a great team will be slightly different to another one's. There's no one way of achieving this. Okay, you can build a team however you want to build it, but if you build it in the way that you visualize it, it's going to really help you actually drive it forwards. Okay, so the key to this is, number one, for those that have just joined, there's a few people that have just joined us. We're talking about, in order to be successful at anything, you need to have this be, do, have. So who do I need to be? My skills. What do I actually do? My plan. And the goals that we're working towards. So the first one is to visualize and have a real clear goal of what a great team looks like. Okay, so that will be one of your first takeaways from this, is sit down with a piece of paper and say, in 12 months, my visualization of my perfect team would look like this. Now, there might be some gaps. Again, if you've not built teams before, you may not see all the things that you want, and that vision will grow as you go through. One of the key things is actually think about what you don't want. So I don't want a team that does this, this, and this. Yeah. So, but if you start getting clarity what you want, you've got a much better chance of actually building it and attracting it. If you don't have this, then you just end up accepting rubbish. So, which is not going to help anybody. So once you've got clarity of what you want to have, then you've got to look at and say, right, if that's the team, if I want a high performance team, that's really what my goal is, to have this team that are turning up, on time, early, they're all proactive, they're contributing, they're really achieving all of their targets, they're a joy to work with and manage. That's my vision. Then you've got to start to look and say, right, am I the person that needs to do this, that can do this? What are my strengths? What are my weaknesses? So no one is a perfect leader in this. No one is, we aren't born leaders. We learn, we grow, and most of the time we grow by our mistakes. The more mistakes you make, the quicker you make them, the quicker you learn, the quicker you move forwards. The other thing to do is learn from other people. So you learn from reading books. Great source to improve your beliefs, your skill is to actually read more books. Maybe you've worked for other people in the past and you look at other teams and other leaders and say, well, that person was a great leader. I look back at when I was at school, and the teachers that I respected, what were the attributes of those people that got the best out of me? Previous bosses that I've worked for, previous MDs that I've actually sort of worked when I was in my sort of finance role. And you generally find there's not one perfect person. They had strengths and they also had weaknesses. And then you can start to sort of, again, visualize yourself what type of person you need to be. And one of the beliefs that can hold us back is our beliefs about teams. Okay, so if we have negative beliefs around teams, then we're going to struggle. So just on the chat box, just write down some negative beliefs that you may have had in the past. Okay, I'm not saying you've got them now around teams. So in that day, that really bad day when everyone's messing around, no one's doing anything right, what are some of the words that you think of and you use around a sort of negative words around a team. So just grab the chat box and write a few things in there. Okay, so lazy, yeah. Fighting for control, not pulling their weight, good, yeah. Don't care, incompetent. We're not mentioning any names here. We're just sort of saying these things that do crop up in all of our minds. So if you think about it, and there's nobody out there that has built teams that hasn't thought about this stuff in the past, that looks at their team and think, they don't care, they're easily distracted, they are undermining each other. The challenge, though, is if we have too many of those, if all of our beliefs are around this, then we're never going to allow that team to grow, never going to allow that team to blossom, because we're not going to put the input into that team that is needed. So we've got to catch ourselves when we say these things that, we might mean it in the moment, but actually we need to work on our positive beliefs about the team as well. Okay, so just as you've done that, now put me some positive beliefs around the team. So what are some positive words that we can use? Okay, they do care, they will go the extra mile, cool. Passionate, enthusiastic, dedicated, yeah. Work well together, innovative, determined. So we can come up with just as many good positive words as we can negative words. Now, but if we focus on the negative side, then what we're going to do is we're going to attract more of the negative stuff. Okay, somebody said to me a long time ago, about marriage, if you focus on all the negatives of your partner, then you're not going to be married very long. Find the positives and just focus on those, because there will be negatives. No one's perfect. They will all have negatives, but if you focus on those, you'll just find more of them. Whereas if you focus on the positives, you'll find more of those. Okay, so we've just got to watch our belief system. If we are more biased to negative thoughts about our team, then we have a problem. Okay, we have a problem in ourselves. It's not that individually, yes, we can all do this. All of us can have those negative things, but what we want to do is be able to focus on the positives and find the positives and actually build those up. Same as if you've got kids. So hands up, who's got children? With your kids, do you find the positives, even if they've had bad days, but you'll always go back to those positives with the kids and encourage those positives, even though they've got weaknesses. They're not quite as good as other kids in certain areas. So you wouldn't do that for your own children. So why would we do that with our own team? Okay, but we get a team that we deserve. So if our team isn't good enough, it's our responsibility to do something about it. And we're going to think about, how do we manage? And this is a little sort of slide that we use a lot. We call it above the line and below the line. So people that are below the line, live in blame, excuses, and denial. Okay, they're always blaming other people, making excuses, or just deny that there's a problem. Positive people and the people that we want in our team are responsible. They take responsibility for things. They allow themselves to be held accountable. They don't whinge and moan when they're held accountable, and they like to take ownership. And this process here, and we can all see ourselves being below the line and see ourselves being above the line. This is really just about growing up. So as a child, so if you can take a sort of a 1-year-old child, they live in denial. And they're blissfully unaware. They take no responsibility for themselves. You have to look after them on a day-to-day basis. Okay, you have to get them up, you have to feed them, you have to wash them. You take control over that child. Now, as the child grows, we want them to move up this process. We go move them up, but in that moving up, they go through a cycle. So if you can imagine, you know, a 1-year-old will be in denial. Who's got sort of 2-3-year-old children? I know Roger's. How old are yours, Roger? Oh, just take yourself off mute.
It's just turned 2, Kevin.
Just turned 2. Okay, so has he learned to start making some excuses?
Not really yet.
Not really yet. Okay, so who's got kids that are sort of 3-4 years old? Anybody?
Yeah.
Ali? Yeah, I mean, you look after them, don't you? So you've got some yourself, have you?
Yeah, he's 3.
Yeah. So has he started making excuses for why he's not doing things?
Yeah, he likes to blame us. We did it, not him.
Excellent. So he's in the blame.
Yeah.
He's already moved at 3 years old. He's already worked out how to blame other people. Yeah. So where does he learn how to blame other people, make excuses?
Definitely not from me.
Oh, no. So there's a bit of denial going on already then. So these are learned behaviours because they're easier, quicker. You know, we haven't quite coped how to take responsibility for ourselves yet. Yeah, and this is what happens as we grow up. So our job as parents is to help our children through this process. Ali runs a children's school, so she's helping other people's children go through this. And this sort of transference from down here to up here to taking responsibility is really when we become teenagers. Okay, so as a teenager, you know, you should start taking responsibility for keeping your own room tidy, you know, doing some chores around the house. Okay, we're actually helping our children to actually grow and develop. Now, is this transfer from down here where we're blissfully unaware and, you know, we're not taking responsibility to being completely above the line? Is that a nice, calm sort of transfer of growing up? What's it generally called? Just if you push the space bar, then you can just unmute yourself for a second. So
Adolescence.
Yeah. Puberty. Okay. Yep. It's a change in the mental programming in our head that says we've now got to start moving away from being looked after into actually being self-sufficient. So we start taking responsibility. And ultimately, we want to turn our children into responsible adults, okay, as quickly as we possibly can. And this transference here, so responsibilities of this period here is really, so this is our teenage years. So let me see if I get the pen to work. So this is our teenage years in here. And then when do you think kids sort of really start to take accountability for their own actions?
35.
You'd like to think it's a little bit before then. So when should this be happening?
About 18.
Yeah. So this is about 18 when we generally go to college, university, or a job. Okay, because if we've got a job and we're reliant on our parents to get us up for it, well, we're really not growing up here. If we're at university and somebody's got to take us to class, then we're not really made that transition. So these are, you know, that's what I've always thought is university, and college here is that in the past I was other people were responsible for my education. Now I'm responsible for my own education. If I don't go to a class when I'm at university, the teacher isn't phoning me up saying, where are you, and giving me detention and stuff. I don't care. You've paid your money. If you don't want to come away with a degree, then that's your lookout. And ultimately, we want to get up to ownership, and we really get that when we move out and we own our own home. Okay, so whether we own it or we rent it doesn't matter, but we take that full responsibility. So we all go through this process of growing up, and we've got to understand, the teams that we're managing are going through this as well. Now, we'd all love it that if we were just recruiting people up here, that would be great. But actually, we end up recruiting people that are somewhere on this cycle. Now, if they're down here, if we've got a team that are predominantly down at this stage, showing childlike teenage mentality, then we have to manage and direct them. Same as your kids. Roger, you wouldn't leave your 2-year-old on their own for a couple of days to fend for themselves. Well, you might do, but it's probably illegal. So we have to look after these people. If they're up here, right at the top, and these are easy. We just lead and delegate to these people. This is what I want you to do, get on and do it. And they take ownership of it. So when we talk about leadership, all the leadership books, great, they deal with the fact that we've got a team full of these people, that they can be led. This is hard work, management. So this is down here is hard. Yeah. And this generally is easy. They'll just come in, this is what I want you to do, and they go and do it.
Sorry, Kevin, I was going to say, I think it's not necessarily just a function of the person's own characteristics, whether they're above or below the line. If you are a bad leader, if you tell people to do stuff that is outside their area of competence and they fail, they are very likely to be below the line because you've set them up for failure, and they're very likely to be blaming you for that failure because you've put them in the position, you've set them up for failure.
Yeah, look, we're all on this scale. There's nobody out there that has the ability to go into blame, excuse, and denial. We'll do it. What we've got to understand, though, is actually if we stay down here, it doesn't help anybody. It doesn't help us, doesn't help the team that we're working with. So our job is to make sure that we have as many people up here. And if they do go down here, we catch them and we help them to come back. So if somebody is aiming and making excuses, great. If I'm your leader, I've now got to help you to come back above the line. It doesn't mean I shouldn't manage you and actually bring in some discipline to actually say this is what you can do and this is what you can't do. So we've got to help our team to be as far up that line as we can. And if this is managing and directing, which is hard work, and none of us really enjoy this, it's not fun doing this all the time. We want to be dealing with adults. This is easy, but it's quite rare. The reality is, the majority of the time, we have to coach people. Our job is to coach our team to be better. And coaching is a skill set, that you learn over a period of time, and you never stop learning how to coach people. So rather than thinking, should I be leading and managing people, I need to start thinking, how am I coaching them? Because if I can get more out of them, then I can actually get my team to perform at a higher level. So we've got to start thinking, if I was your coach, if you were a sports team, if I was your coach, what would I be doing with you? How would I be working this? And if we start thinking ourselves as coaches rather than managers, I think we'll come up with a lot more ideas of how we're going to achieve this. Okay, so once we understand that look, we are going to get people at all levels. So if they are down here and we start seeing blame, excuses, and denial, then yes, we have to become a little bit more strict and a bit more managerial. If they're taking ownership and accountability, then get out of their way, stop micromanaging them, let them get on with it, and we can start to lead them. But the majority of people are going to be somewhere in here, and therefore it's going to be a constant balance of those things. Okay, but if we're not providing them with the skills and helping them to actually move up, then again, you get the team that you deserve. If you're not dealing with this, you'll just end up with a group of people that ultimately will all sink to the bottom. Yeah, and then you'll be managing them on a day-to-day basis, which none of us want. So if we start to look at this in a psychological view as how the brain works and how do we get the best out of people. So there's 3 levels of brain function, sort of brain maturity. So first level is the reptilian brain. So this is our animal brain. So this is our fight or flight brain. So it deals with the basic functions of keeping us alive. So think of this as the body. So this is our, our physical being. Our limbic system is more of our emotions. So this is our, what we call the mammalian brain. So this deals with, we're a social animal. So we've got a high level limbic system that allows us to interact and socialize with other people. And this is what I would call our spirit. And neocortex is our thinking brain and our ability to process complex logical processes. And this is what I would call the mind. So if you think about our natural essence of human life is to get a balance between our mind, body, and spirit. So if we get all of these 3 things working together, our reptilian brain, our body, our limbic system, our spirit, and our mind, our neocortex, if we get those working together, we can be extremely motivated. So if we turn this into a business context, body is our performance. So am I performing at a level that is good? Am I seeing the results of my actions? My spirit is my relationships with the people around me and my team. And the mind is my ability to learn and grow and do new things. So as we do this, in order to actually drive motivation, we've got to have in ourselves, but in our team, their ability to perform and see the result of their performance. They've got to have a really strong relationship with us as their leader, but also their team and find a real place in their team. And they've got to be growing. Because if we stop doing this, you imagine us as one of your team members, I'm performing really good. I've got a good relationship. I've stopped growing. I haven't actually grown in what I do for the last 5 years. How do I start to feel? What would be some of the signs of a person that is going through that process? Just type that in your chat box. What am I seeing? Frustration. Yeah, people are going to be frustrated. Yeah, bored, demotivated. Any others? If I kept somebody in this state for too long, what are they going to do? What will end up happening? They'll leave. So you'll have this really good person performing really well, fits in really well with the team. You suddenly come into your office and say, "There's my 4 weeks notice. I'm off," and you'll go, "Where did that come from? I wasn't expecting that." And they'll make some excuse, they won't really understand what it is. Yeah. But you've just ended up losing a really good key member of staff. Now, think of it another way. If they're not performing, so they're not achieving day in, day out, but they are growing, they are challenging and they've got a good relationship, but they're not performing, what happens to that person? So if you've got a team member that isn't performing, what do you do? Yeah, shout at them. Yeah, you sack them. Claire, that's the right answer, Claire. That is the right answer. You'd coach them. So you'd work on improvement plan. But, at the end of the day, if they're not performing, but the other thing is what will happen with that person is they will have to go below the line. They will start making excuses and blame as to why they're not performing. Okay, and you'll get a demotivated person. Likewise, if it's relationships that's missing, so they're performing well, they're growing, but there's no relationship with you, with the company, yeah, they're going to leave as well, because they're going to go, well, no one really cares about me. I'm doing all this work, but yeah, has anybody noticed? Yeah, I'm working my what's its off. Yeah, and if you've been in an organization, because I'm assuming you guys are all good guys, and perform really well and continue to grow, the number one reason you would have left your organization in the past is probably that one. The fact that actually no one really gave a monkeys. So you just go, oh, I can't be bothered. I'll go and start my own business, or I'll go and work for somebody that does care. So these are the key things. If we want to have a motivated team, yeah, we've got to believe that everybody has the ability to be motivated. Now, there are some people out there that it seems very, very difficult to motivate them. But the reality is they are motivated. Okay, they may not be motivated at work, but they'll be motivated at home, when they're with their kids, with their grandkids, when they're playing the sport, when they're doing the activity they love. So we have to find, that trigger of how we get that level of motivation that they naturally come with in our organizations. That's going to be the key to this. So one of the key things for performance is we have to have key performance indicators. We've got to set goals, have targets, maybe a little bit of competition, okay, and give them the autonomy to actually go out there and achieve. Because that's what we want to do as human beings. We all want to actually go out there and actually achieve. And if you look at this in a sporting world, does anybody play competitive sport that we've got here? Anybody? Ranjit, what was that, a nod?
I play five-a-side.
Play five-a-side. Yeah. Okay. So do I have to? Do I have to?
Brass band playing count?
Sorry.
Does competitive brass band playing count?
Competitive. I'd like to see that, Roger. But I mean, I've watched. What's the singing one? Pitch Perfect. So Pitch Perfect, great film. So if it's like that, then yes. But let's take Ranjit's five-a-side. That's probably an easy one for me to get my head around. So do I have to pay you, Ranjit, to go and play five-a-side football?
No, you don't.
No. Do I have to really motivate you to play football?
No, you don't.
No, I don't. So if you look at that in sport, when you play football, yeah, do you occasionally lose?
Yes.
Yeah. And when you lose, yeah, are you motivated to get better?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And when you play, do you practice before you play a match?
Not really.
Not really. Okay.
I should be, yeah.
But if you were really serious about it,
if I was serious about it, I would. Yeah.
You would probably play more.
Yeah.
So for you, you'd look at this and say, in your five-a-side football, if you were scoring these out of 10, how much do you play football to actually to grow and improve and become a better footballer?
A fair amount, but not that much, because it's a bit more casual, I guess.
So you'd be 4 or 5, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Performance, about achieving, winning,
Yeah.
I'm guessing that's slightly higher, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
definitely.
You'd probably be about an 8 to 9 of 10 out of that one.
Yeah.
Relationships, having fun with your mates.
Yeah, that's pretty important.
That's probably going to be the highest one.
Yeah.
So that's probably a 9 or a 10 out of 10. If you were doing this and not having fun with the guys you were playing with, then you wouldn't.
Yeah, we'd leave. Yeah.
You'd leave. Yeah. You'd stop playing that game. So while there's enough in here to keep you motivated to play the game, because you're getting this one, and this one, your life doesn't depend on it, so it's not that important. But if you were doing this one, forming really hard, and this one was 2 out of 10, and this one was 4 out of 10, you wouldn't be playing five-a-side. And this is what we've got to understand in the people that we take on in our roles. This is what's going through their head. if they can't see their level of performance through key performance indicators, if they're not having fun, enjoyment, and a sense of purpose as to why they're actually working, and they're not learning new skills and improving, yeah, then you're going to end up with a demotivated person. They'll stay working because they've got to pay the bills. Okay, but they're not going to be enjoying it, and you're never going to get the best out of them. And the only thing you're going to be able to do is actually manage them. And you don't enjoy that, they don't enjoy that, and that's the creation of a really poor performing team. So this sort of starts with our recruitment. We want to recruit people who fit the profile of the roles that we want around this. Okay, so yeah, if we're in sales, yeah, I want somebody really that is highly driven by performance metrics. Because sales is that sort of game. You know, you've got to keep scoring, you've got to keep driving forwards. If I'm looking somebody in technical, yeah, then probably this one is less, but this one is really high. I need somebody that's motivated by actually learning and improving. If I'm in social care, sort of like Ali, I want somebody who's really motivated by relationships. Okay, so if I employ somebody that's really high in performance and put them in that environment, yeah, it's going to be a struggle. They're probably not going to stay long. So looking at the roles that we're asking people to do and getting that balance within our organization, because the other thing is, are we an organization that is highly performance driven? Are we a growth organization? Are we a relationships organization? And then the roles that they're actually playing in there as well. Okay, so finding this, so what motivates, and everyone's slightly different, and it does change, you know. Motivations do change as we grow. You know, when we're young, it might be a bit more performance led. As we grow, it might become more relationships led. But if we're not understanding our team, then it's difficult for us to actually get this in the right place. So in order to actually to bring this in, you know, to actually motivate us, then maybe, you know, if it's a performance role, bring in awards, competition, league tables, associate it with bonuses, okay, gifts, you know, that sort of thing of actually achieving that quick, I do this, I get this, I feel good. That's going to be a key thing to motivate these sorts of people. If it's relationships, it's more about, you know, the actual feelings that I get when I'm working with my team. You know, so do we have a nice kitchen? You know, have we got the place to actually socialize? And if we're growth led, then make sure there's an element of training, you know, the ability to be promoted. You know, we're looking for people that are looking to move up, do different projects, change, move around. Now, in a small business, this is quite tough, okay, because we don't have the multiple of roles, but we can start making it a little bit more, you know, less doing the same thing over and over again. So we've really got to start thinking about who we're dealing with. What are their beliefs? Where are they thinking? What level are they? You know, what's the balance of this? And if we're not having these discussions with our team, then we're going to have challenges. Because, you know, it's you know, this sort of level is quite difficult just to gain on a you know, on the surface. Now, in an interview, when we're interviewing people, bringing them on, yeah, we can ask this. So what motivates you? What do you like? Are you a performance type of person? Are you do you like learning? Yeah. Do you like the social interactions? Tell me more about what floats your boat. And then if you understand that, then your management style, your coaching style can actually work towards that. Okay, and you can manage these people, you know, more specifically to how they're wired. Any questions around that? Is anybody? No, does that all make sense? So, and think about yourself. You know, if you're starting to get a bit flat in your role, you know, where you are, we all do that. You know, I've this happened. You know, the reason I came across this was about 8 years ago, 9 years ago, quite a while. I was performing really well. You know, I was driven by competition. You know, in Action Coach, we're a franchise, so we have league tables, and I'd set my goal to be, you know, top 10 in the world, top 5 in Europe, and I'd achieved that. And I was knocking it out of the park, as they say. I was learning, I was growing, you know, I was constantly sort of absorbing more and more information. Yet I was as miserable as sin. And I was thinking, why the hell? You know, I'm achieving everything I wanted to achieve. You know, I'm doing what I love doing, which is learning new things. But why am I actually not enjoying this? And I looked at, you know, read a lot of books around happiness and motivation, and sort of came to this conclusion. And I looked at this and said, look, what I'm missing is relationships. You know, I've got relationships with my clients, but what I don't have is a team to actually share this journey with. And then I said, that was like a blinding flash of the obvious, was right, I need to build a team around me to actually support me in this journey. And that changed the nature of what I was doing. And for that period of time, you know, it was great. You know, I had a team of people, you know, we were building a great relationship and maintain the performance and the growth. So it does change after a period of time, that we've got to work on it to actually, you know, get our focus of what motivates us, but also understand what motivates the rest of the team. So once we know that, once we've got that sort of belief side, then we've got to think about, right, now what do we actually do? So there are 6 keys to building a great team. The first one is, we've sort of been working on this, is the B. This is about the strong leadership. You know, what do we need to do to lead a team? And I think some of the key things for me for this is, you know, leaders have this sort of vision. They have the ability to get the clarity of direction. People like to be led. If you look at sort of, you know, we're a pack animal. If you look at animals that survive in packs, there's always a leader. Now, I call it in a lot of organizations, there's a reluctant leader. You know, it might be a leader because, you know, no one else is wanting to do it. Maybe it's because I started the business, but we never really set out to be a leader. It's just that we ended up in that role. But that leadership is really about clarity of where we're going to go, what our vision is for the future, actually coming up with the values of the company, the culture, and setting that, and being clear why we're here, our purpose. So having these, you know, set down, it's our responsibility to come up with that. Now, for those of you that are working for other people, you know, you've got to make sure that you understand what the company's vision, values, and purpose is, that you buy into that it makes sense for you, that there is an alignment between, you know, what you want and what they want. Okay, so alignment in an organization is very, very important, which I've got there. The other thing is, leaders are really good delegators. Poor leaders are people that hang on to everything. The only person that can do this is me. Yeah, I call it Superman syndrome. So, you know, when a problem happens, you know, you put your pants on the outside of your trousers, you put your cape on, and you fly down and you go and fix it. Now, the problem with that is, by doing that, yes, it gets the problem fixed quickly, but you're not teaching your team to take responsibility, to learn by their mistakes. So when it happens again, when there's another problem, what happens is they all sit back and go, well, we'll just phone Julian up because Julian fixes it. So we'll all bugger off at 5 o'clock, and Julian's in there till 8 o'clock fixing the problems that they've done. Great leaders actually say, yeah, there's a problem, so how are you going to fix it? Yeah, and allow that person to actually do it themselves.
Yeah, Kevin, one problem that I had with an employee who has now left was that they, if they came across a problem that they couldn't solve, they not merely wouldn't even try, they would get extremely angry and annoyed if I tried to solve it for them, and they would stubbornly refuse to grow in any sense. Is there anything you can do about that, or do you just have to let what actually happened naturally happen naturally?
Yeah. I mean, there are some people that just don't get this. They can't. They just, it's a bit like, if you try and get a, somebody to play football that doesn't really want to play football, and you keep pushing them to play football, they'll just, they'll start to get angry, and they're getting angry at themselves because they can't do it. And we don't really want those people. We don't want to employ those types of people. Life's too short. We want people that are at least halfway up that above the line, below the line. If they're anything, if you employ people that are below the line, you want to get rid of them. Okay, they're too difficult. So if I look at this, let me just start. Actually, let me just draw it here. So think of people as like icebergs. Okay, so some of you have seen me do this before. So if this is an iceberg, we see their behavior, okay, which leads to their results. So if the results aren't what we want, then if we look at this behavior, we've got to understand that this behavior is as a result of a lot of things below. So the first one is, do they have the skill to do what we're asking them to do? Now, if they don't have the skill, then we need to train them. Okay, we've got to put them on a training course to actually learn how to do this. So that's the first thing. And how easy is it to train somebody for skills?
Easy.
Easy, relatively easy. I mean, it takes a bit of time and a bit of effort and a bit of cost, but it's generally quite easy to actually give somebody the skills. If we put them on the course, they learn the skills and they still not behaving, then our next level is their beliefs wrong. They believe that it's okay to do it this way. We believe we want them to do it that way, and therefore we've got a difference of opinion, let's say. Now, if you've got an employee that's constantly at this level of disagreement in beliefs, how easy is it now to change somebody's beliefs?
A bit more difficult, but not impossible with some education.
Yeah, I mean, education can be this, but if somebody's got beliefs, we have to challenge these beliefs. Okay? If we don't challenge them and say, that's interesting, but that's not the way it works around here, then they'll carry on believing what they've always believed. And this is harder. None of us like challenging other people. Okay? But it's part of management. It's part of leadership. We're not here to be nice. Yeah, we're not here to be liked. We're here to be respected. Now, if this belief is a core belief, and we're actually now looking at values, how easy is it to change somebody's values?
Not very easy.
Not very easy. This is really tough. And also it's not our responsibility as their employer to actually change their values. Who are we to say that our values, are wrong? I mean, this is where a lot of conflict in the world comes from. Is we're trying to change other people's values. Well, it's not my job. I can look at your beliefs and challenge them, and we can agree to disagree. And if we disagree, then don't work here. You don't have to work here. Work somewhere else. And ultimately, it might be down at their identity. So their identity is what they say to themselves about themselves when they're by themselves. And I think the challenge we had, the person you're talking about, Roger, I think was that person had a serious identity problem. Okay, now down at this level, you need therapy. Okay, there are some people out there that need therapy. I mean, it's, you know, there's probably too many of them, and they're not getting treatment and the help that they want. Now, our job is to actually find people that this is right, and all we therefore have to do is these two. If we've got somebody with the wrong values and identity that doesn't fit, then we shouldn't even try and change them. They need to leave the organization. Okay, so, you know, sometimes we make a wrong call. We don't pick it up at the interview process. Often when we recruit in haste, you know, we need a bum on a seat, so we recruit quickly, and we don't really, you know, there's a lot, as our gut would tell us it's not quite right, but we do it anyway because we like to see the best in people. So our interview process has really got to dig into this and just say, are their values and identity right? If they are, then there's nothing really that we shouldn't be able to overcome through skills and challenging beliefs. I would say, look, you know, these are my beliefs. They may be wrong. I'm the manager. It's my company. I'm in charge. If you don't like it, then fine. You don't have to work here. I'm not forcing you to. So, you know, there's the door. And if we do everything that I'm going to show you here right, you'll never have to sack anybody. You just make it so that they actually turn around and say, actually, I think you are an idiot. I don't think this is the right way of doing it, and they leave. And that's okay. You know, don't be upset when people leave if you've gone through this process. So we've got to look at this and say, the more self-aware we are of ourselves, the more we're into our own personal development. And one of the things that I'll come to in a minute is using behavioral profiling. You know, we have a way to test people's motivation. You know, it's a motivator, so we can see what motivates them. You know, DISC will give us a behavioral profile. We can go into psychometrics. The more we've done this on ourselves and we're self-aware, the more we do it on our team, the more useful we can assess how we're going to lead, you know, the people that we're actually looking after. If we don't do this, then we're stuck doing the things we've always done, you know, and we'll always get the same results. So DISC is an interesting one. I know some of you guys have done this, so I'm not going to go, because I do it in a more detail with my self-mastery. But we have 4 types of behavioural style. We have outgoing and reserved people, extrovert, introvert, and then we have task-focused, logical, and people-focused, more emotional. So here we have the 4. So our Ds are our dominant drivers, Is are our influencers, S's are our supporters, C's are cautious, calculating people, or, you know, another way to look at it, powerful, popular, peaceful, perfect. So how we manage people will depend on their profile. I'll manage a high D, you know, differently to I'll manage an S. So high D's characteristics are, you know, they're driven, they're determined, they're demanding. You know, they see a favourable environment, one which challenges can be overcome, and they try to change and fix things. So I've got to manage this person in a completely different way if I've got an I who sees favourable environments as one which they can influence others. And if I'm a high D, then I've got to be able to change my leadership style to suit the people I'm leading. Otherwise, I've got a one-size-fits-all, which will work some of the time, but often, you know, will start to cause us problems. So our S's are steady, stable, supportive, and our C's are cautious, compliant. So we look at this and think, you know, I need to understand my style of management. So a C manages through systems and processes, logic, you know, numbers. C's don't tend to like to talk to other people. They like to do things on their own. Now, if you're dealing with other C's, that's fine, because C's like to work on their own. But if a C's trying to manage a load of I's who need to talk to people, we're going to have a problem here. Yeah, D's, yeah, are very sort of determined, dominant. So if they're trying to sort of dominate I's, there can be clashes because they're both extrovert, they'll both speak their mind. If they manage S's, that generally works quite well, but S's can feel, you know, walked over and put upon. But they won't speak up and tell a D that actually they're not happy. So eventually, after a period of time, the S's will just leave. So we've got to start thinking about our own leadership style and have an ability, because these are just behaviors, have an ability to change. One of the ways that we do this, I know, say, a few of you have done your DISC profiles. And when you do a DISC profile, you get a 30-odd page report, which goes into a lot of detail around this. But what we can do is we can DISC the whole team, yeah, and see where the organization is. So some organizations are very S down here. So you get a mix of people that are right down here. And in this one here, you know, we've got quite a few D's and I's, and we've got quite a few C's and S's. So we've got a potential here that these two are going to clash. They'll see the world differently. But also, we're missing a large, there's nobody up here in this analytical and assertive point. So no one's actually looking at the numbers and making logical decisions. All of this down here is just done on emotion. So that can cause us some big problems when we start putting this team under pressure. Yeah, that this is where we'll generally find that the issues will come out. Now, if we're aware of this, we know. I'm dealing with one client at the moment, and we're actually putting the managing director under pressure. Okay, and what we're finding is we're getting a blow up here. And I said to the guy today, you know, he said, "Oh, this has happened. It's all gone wrong." I said, "Well, actually, I'm surprised that it's taken this long for this to happen, because this was going to happen at some stage, because I know the profiles and I know when you put under pressure how it's going to come out." Yeah, and it's taken 4 months to actually come up. So I was expecting it, and I'm glad it's happened, because now it's happened, we can deal with it. Whereas he's going, "Oh my God, this has happened, and what are we going to do?" And it's almost like, "Oh, I might leave this company." No, this we're putting pressure on. This is going to happen. This is just natural. We now need to deal with it. Okay, so being aware of these profiles and under pressure, what's going to happen, where are the signs going to come, yeah, then we understand what's going to happen. One of the hardest ones actually are S's and C's, because they internalize everything. And if you internalize it, there's no outward signs that there's a problem. D's and I's are easy. They'll tell you if they're happy, and they'll tell you if they're upset. C's and S's internalize it. So sometimes it's difficult to spot it. But if you know that they are, you'll start to see the signs. Okay, because they go more introverted, and you know, and start, there's little comments, little things that are said. And sometimes it's not what is said, it's what's not said that spots whether a C or an S is under pressure. So really looking into the psychometrics, into the behavioral profiles, allows us to be better leaders. Okay, we actually start to think about, you know, the team that we're working on, and we treat our team as individuals, not as one size fits all. And I've seen it over the years that I have a high D, business owner or manager. So a high D is very determined and tells people what to do. So if we get any D's and I's in the organization, what would generally happen with those two people? So if let's say I've got an alpha male D and I employ another alpha male, yeah, what happens if I put that under pressure? Clash. Okay, now the thing with that is they'll clash, but one person has the authority. Okay, so one person is either business owner or is there through experience. So the other person will go, "This is a battle. I can't win this battle," so they'll leave. So this guy had been going 20 years, built an organization full of people down here. The only people that were put up with him were C's and S's, people that basically just let him sort of boss them around and actually do nothing. He had nobody over this side. And when I started working with him, we did this. You know, I sort of commented, so that's interesting. So you're over here, and everyone else is over here. So how do you feel about that? He said, I feel lonely, isolated. Nobody in the organization comes up with any ideas. It's all, I have to do everything. And I said, excellent. You've perfectly engineered your team to give you that exact result. Because when somebody does challenge you, does speak up, you argue with them, and then they go, oh, I can't be asked. So you've got to learn to take criticism. You've got to learn to actually allow people to say what they want to say and not speak up and not overpower them. You need that in your organization, otherwise you're going to be in trouble. Okay, and over a period of a couple of years, we got some of the C's over here to move across here. Okay, to actually give him that support and for him to work on a way to actually deal with that conflict in a positive way rather than in a negative way that he was doing. So, strong leadership, number one. Second one is we've got to now have a common goal. So, as I said, the leader's got to have the vision, the values, and the purpose, but it's then got to break that down into really clear, defined goals. So when I talk goals, I talk SMART goals. So specific, measurable, achievable, realistic in a time frame. So by doing that, you know, a leader, you know, to build a team is we've got to have budgets. We've got to have targets. We've got to understand the personal goals of the individual. So every person we have in our team, we must know, where do you want to be in 5 years' time? What do you want to be doing? What role do you want? How much money do you want to be earning? How much responsibility do you have? Because if we don't have that, you know, we might have alignment now because they need a job, but in 5 years' time, they may want to go this way and you might want to go this way. So we've got to get this alignment, yeah, so team alignment with those goals. So they've got to look at this and say, yeah, I want this, so I'm going this way, we're going this way. So if I can help you achieve your goal, you can help me achieve my goal, then we've got a great team. If this person wants to go over here, yeah, this person wants to go here, then no matter what we do, at some point we're going to fall out. So everybody in the organization needs to understand where the company's going, where we're going to be in 5 years' time, yeah, where we're going to be in 12 months' time, where we're going to be in 90 days' time. But also you as a leader have got to understand where those people are going to want to be in that time frame as well. And that's when we come into appraisals, which I'll come on to, you know, in a little bit. So, oh, we've got it there actually. So team alignment and then appraisals. So, Ali, how often do you do appraisals?
I think they're annually.
Annual appraisals, yeah.
Decisions every 6 weeks.
Cool. Chris's, what do you do? Anybody do appraisals more often than once a year? Julian, you're not doing appraisals more than once a year, are you?
We do on the first year, so we normally do a 3-month appraisal for new starters, and then we go to an annual appraisal system after that. So we check in with them for the first year.
Cool. And I'd say a lot of companies that you know, I used to work in, and we used to do annual appraisals, and they were basically a box ticking exercise. You know, I didn't enjoy it when I was an employee, and I hated doing it when I was a manager, but we had to do it because it was the done thing. But if we go back to our motivation, yeah, and we look at the fact that, you know, we've got personal growth, we've got performance, and we've got relationships. Now, performance, that should be appraised. How often should we be appraising somebody's performance?
Constantly.
Constantly. You never stop. You know, why would you wait a whole year before you gave somebody feedback on how well they're doing? It's like playing football, you know, and not knowing the score until after the season's ended. So performance is done, you know, daily, weekly, monthly, whatever your KPIs are done. Personal growth and relationships, though, if we wait a whole year before we check in on somebody's relationships and personal growth, how are we going to assess how they're doing? Now, okay, personal growth might be once a year, but their relationship with a company, that can change by the day, by the week, by the month. If we're waiting a whole year, then the fact that, you know, this is when people will start to leave. You'll miss it because you didn't have that check-in. So my view with appraisals is, you know, ideally you do them quarterly. Because if you go to somebody that's into personal growth, if we're trying to grow our team, we should have personal development plans for every employee. It should be clear what their personal development is as they go forwards. So why wouldn't I want to check into them on a quarterly basis? Now, who does it? You know, it can be done, you know, as a team effort. It doesn't need to be an individual that does it. Doesn't mean to be you as a manager. You can have people doing, you know, you can get HR to do the appraisals. You can get them to appraise each other. Yeah, it's just a way to say, look, how are you doing? You know, there should be some performance review. Okay, so, you know, is there anything on your performance that you think is, here's your report card? Let's look at that. Is there anything you can do? Because that performance drives your personal growth. If you're performing low, I need to give you some more skills to help you move forwards. The key one is really this, you know, a personal development plan, a personal growth plan, and your relationship with the company. And too many people do performance-led appraisals once a year, which, as I say, is just pointless. It's too late. How can I assess your performance from 9 months ago? It's hard enough from a week ago. So performance should be on a regular basis. So we're setting those goals. We're getting clarity. What do you want? What do we want? Everyone's clear in the direction that we're going. And part of that goal setting is we've got to set our key performance indicators. How are we going to measure how well we're doing towards those goals? And we talk about leading and lagging key performance indicators. Leading KPIs are activity based. So what do I need to do now in order to get the result that I'm looking to get? So having a balance of these, because leading KPIs are KPIs that I'm in control of, I can do. So it might be, if I'm in sales, it might be the number of phone calls I'm doing. Yeah, if it's operations, it's the number of widgets I produce, the hours I spend on a particular topic. So there's something that I'm actually in control of on a day-to-day basis. A lagging KPI is the result of what I'm doing. What do I get? Which I'm not always in control of 100%. So we've got to have this ability to know that everybody in the organization has their own metrics. They've got to be able to see what they do, what their performance looks like, and then they'll engage with the game. And a good way to look at this is 10-pin bowling. So who here's played 10-pin bowling before? Put your hands up if you've. Excellent. So Chris G, you can be my guinea pig on this one. So do you want to unmute yourself? Can you unmute? Cool. You there? Oh. You were there a second ago. No. No. Okay, Gary. We'll have to go to Gary.
Hi.
You can hear Gary. Okay, we're gonna play 10-pin bowling.
Okay.
Okay. So you're going to be the bowler. So you're the employee. yeah, and I'm the manager, yeah, and we've got so I'll just draw it here.
I
Actually,
already have a question.
Yeah.
Is it right or is it wrong for an employee to beat the manager?
at 10-pin bowling.
I was told once, never beat the manager, because he'll make your life hell after that, and because he'll take a hit with his pride. But if I'm good and he's crap, I'm going to beat him. So,
But then I think you've got to reverse that and say, as a manager, what do you want from your employee?
let them win, boost their morale. Let them beat
Just-
you once.
Yeah.
That's something that's not business related.
Yeah,
You want their best.
you say it's more about a manager's role. It's not what the employee wants. If the employee is scared of showing the manager up, then we've got a problem, because they're going to underperform in their role. If you look at a football manager, do they want their team to score more goals than they would do?
Yeah.
They want them to score more goals, don't they?
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it's really about from a manager's point of view what you want to achieve. So we're going to play this little game of 10-pin bowling. Okay, so here we've got the skittles. Okay, there's 10 skittles there. You're over here with the ball. Okay, now I'm the manager, so I'm going to hold this blanket up in front of the skittles because I control all the KPIs, all the numbers. Okay, and only I know these numbers. So you're going to bowl the ball. Yeah. So I need you to make a bit of a bowling ball noise.
Okay.
Okay. We'll work on that one. So you're going to bowl the ball down here. Okay. There it goes. And it's going to go through blanket and it's going to knock some pins over. Okay. And I'm going to look at the pins. Because I'm the manager and I control all the numbers, I'm going to give you a little bit of feedback and say, yes, that was pretty good, Gary. Well done. But I'm going to give you that feedback 3 months after you've bowled the ball in your appraisal.
Very long bowling game.
Very long. So how motivated are you feeling right now playing this game?
Not motivated.
Okay, so we're going to speed this up a little bit. So you're going to bowl another ball. It's going to go through the blanket and it's going to knock some pins over. And I'm going to tell you exactly, right, Gary, well done. You got 3 pins down. Fantastic. Good job, mate.
Cool.
But now how motivated do you feel?
Yeah, I feel better. Could do
Better?
more than 3
Okay.
though, I reckon.
So you're going to bowl another ball down. Yeah. And you're going to knock some more. So actually, I think, Gary, you got 4 more downs. You got 7 in total down.
Cool.
So feeling a bit better.
Mm-hmm.
How long do you want to play this game?
I don't want to get more than 2 strikes or 2 throws per 10 pins. I know the rules of bowling. So I want to get either a strike or a spare. So I want to get as many down as quickly as I can.
Okay. Now, but as a manager,
Yeah.
how much effort am I putting into playing this game?
You're not the one throwing or rolling or thinking of the angles, the science of it. You're just standing there blocking.
Okay, but I could improve it by coaching you, couldn't I? I could be, but I'm down here counting the pins.
Yeah.
Okay,
You're
so
just telling me the result, and
it's a bit of a pain in the arse for me because you've got to ask me. I've got to tell you your result. If I just got out your way and we got rid of that, let you bowl and see what your result is, and I came up here and actually coach you to actually bowl better, wouldn't that be a better game?
Much.
And this is what we're doing in our businesses, is we hold all the numbers because, for whatever reason, we don't have the number. We have no idea how many pins you knock down. What does good performance look like? What does bad performance look like? We've got no idea. But if we do, we hold all that information and we're providing it back. If we can get out of the way so that they can see their own numbers and take ownership of their own numbers, and then we just help them to actually, right, tell me how you've done. Right, how could you be better? What do you need to do? Well, what about holding the ball this way? What about bowling it that way? we're going to get a lot better results, and we're going to get a far more engaged, motivated person. So we've got to get out of the way of this game, let them play the game that we've asked them to play, yeah, in the best way they can, and then coach them to be better at playing the game. Again, this is management. Yeah, we're managing them. Yeah, this is coaching. When we come to lead them, we just tell them, right, we're playing bowling, get on with it. Off you go. If you need me, then give me a shout. So this common goal, having real clarity around company, department, individual KPIs, linking it back to the budget, because at the end of the day, they've got to understand the game that we're playing is to make money. If we make money, everyone's happy. Yeah, if we're not making money, then we're not going to stay in business very long. And if they don't understand how their activity relates to what they're actually, what the company's goal is, which is to make sales, make profit, then it's not going to be surprising that they do things that actually cost us money and get in our way of winning our game. So there's got to be this alignment with goals. So once we've got the goal in place, then we need to put a plan together. So this is where we're going to go. This is what we're trying to achieve. Now we need a real clarity around the plan. So the plan is who does what by when. Yeah, and one of the best things I use, and I know some of you will use this at a high level, is our little Gantt chart. Okay, so a 90 days we find is a good time frame to look at. It doesn't have to be 90 days. It could be monthly, it could be 6 monthly, but we just find 90 days is far enough in the future. And also, bizarrely enough, it fits in with our 90-day appraisals. So our appraisals is also a review of how well we've done with a 90-day plan. Now, a manager probably would get the whole of this as a plan. As we go down the organization, I might get 1 or 2 bits of it. But there's a link back to the big plan of the company down to what, as an individual, I should be working on. So 90-day plans, 7-day targets, daily reviews, weekly reviews. We're actually setting up how we're going to manage actually putting this plan into action. So if we've got the clarity of everybody knows what they should be doing towards the common goal, then we've got the chance of performance. So if we go back to Ranjit and you and your football, presumably when you play five-a-side, you have a position on the pitch. Yeah?
Yeah.
Where do you play? Where's your position?
Oh, I'm just like a central midfielder usually.
Okay. So I know five-a-side's a little bit more, there's less distance to cover. But,
yes, it is.
but if you look at the good teams, they'll be really clear what their plan is, how they're going to pass the ball, how they're going to build it up to actually score. Poor teams just get on the pitch, kick the ball around, and if it goes in the net, it's a good job. So we get to decide, do we want to just kick the ball around and have a bit of fun, or are we actually playing this to win? If we are, then we need a plan and we need a strategy to do that. So once we've got our plan, then we can focus on the rules of the game. Now, this is the one that most organizations let themselves down on. Yeah, every game you play has a set of rules. They have a set of written rules and sometimes a set of unwritten rules. And it's really key for us to get this. Now, the way that we can set the rules is we can have a culture statement. So remember I talked about values of the company. So we turn the values into the culture. Go back to the identity iceberg where I said, values, we've got to make sure they meet. If we don't know what our values are, what our culture is, then how can we recruit people to that? So be really clear what our culture statement is, then have an organization chart. So roles, responsibilities within the company. Now, a lot of people's organization charts, are called sort of flat systems, or, they're people. An organization chart really should be roles. So who's at the top of an organization chart?
CEO, MD.
CEO, MD. So I've got the MD here. Yeah. Not really at the top of the organization chart, are they? Who do they report to?
Shareholders.
Shareholders.
The owner.
The owner. Okay, so the shareholders at the top, then there's the MD. Yeah, then we recruit key directors. So we've got our marketing director, sales director, operations director, finance director, HR director. Okay, and then within the marketing team, there'll be a number of roles. The sales team, there'll be a number of roles. Operation, there'll be a number of roles, and so it goes down and down and down. Okay, so part of the rules of the game is, look, this is the structure. This is how this team plays. We've got our forwards, we've got our midfielders, we've got our defence, we've got our goalkeeper. This is the strategy we're going to work towards. So having this clarity within our organisation, and this is not people, this is roles. So even a one-man band, has this structure. Ranjit, who's the shareholder in your company?
Me.
Ranjit. Yeah. Who's the MD?
Me.
Who's head of marketing?
Me.
Who's head of sales?
Me again.
Ops?
Me.
Finance director?
Yeah, definitely me.
Yeah. HR director?
I hate HR.
It's you. Yeah. Then in operations, who does the work?
Martin.
Martin and?
Lucy.
Lucy and?
Me.
You. Okay. So when you draw this out, these roles all exist. It's just you've got one person, all of them. And our job as we grow our business is we've got to get ourselves out of here, doing the work, moving up as far as we can. Now, like Ali, are part of an organization, you should know where you are in the organization and have your team around you. Because if you know where you are and how it fits, then you've got the rules. This is how this machine works. And we're not running around, like Ranjit on the football pitch, being in goal, trying to score goals, trying to defend, and then wondering why we don't really do anything particular well and we're exhausted at the end of the game. So we've got to put these systems in place. We've got to put this structure in place. We've got to actually start thinking about how we are going to play the game and what we can and can't do. So, and if we are going to set rules, we've also got to police the rules. So if people break the rules, we've got to be prepared to hold them to account. That's not acceptable behavior. If you think it is, then perhaps we need to have a discussion about it, or you need to leave the organization. So there's this ability of not being nice. It's being completely clear and fair, giving people a chance to change their behavior if they want to keep their job, or accepting, well, if you don't want to stay here, then don't stay here. We'll have to find somebody else. And then we need to support risk-taking. So looking to actually, once we've got all of these in place, to actually allow people to take some risk. Now, if we do this before we do these four, what would happen? So if we allow people to do it their way, take some risk without having us as seen as strong leaders, having a clear goal, having a plan, having the rules of the game, what's likely to happen? Company would struggle, yeah, a mess. I mean, I think that's the key. It will just be a bun fight. Everyone will be just doing it their own way. They'd be trying their best. They won't be doing it to actually harm you or hurt you or piss you off. But I guarantee they'd achieve that pretty darn quickly. So if your team are not performing, then you come back to these 6 keys and you go, right, where's it going wrong here? And the last one is, so risk-taking is about the ability to delegate, allow people to do it their way, allowing people to develop their own skills through training, through failing. We learn a lot through failure, communication, motivational, and actually coaching people. So, we want to make sure that they take a a certain amount of risk, but not too much risk that if it goes wrong, it could cause us damage. And that is a fine balance all the time. Okay, so it's this ability to actually allow people to do this. Now, there's another little thing that is quite useful to look at. I'll do it here. Okay. Into work. So if we look at this and say, as a leader, we need to support people and we need to direct people. So when people come into our organization, yeah, we have to, so this is high direction, and this is low, this is high. So if we come into here for a new person, we need to highly direct them because they don't know any different. So we need to actually tell them what we want them to do. Now, we do that for a bit, and then ultimately we want to be down here where we actually just delegate to them. So we just say, right, this is what I want you to do, get on and do it. We don't give them any support, any direction, we just trust them to get on with it. Now what happens is, this one we feel that we should do. So we start off for the first month doing this. And then we go, right, well, I'm bored of that. You should know it all by now. And we go straight to here. And then because we haven't got the common goals, the rules, all of those things in place, they mess it up. So they make a mistake because people make mistakes. And then we come straight back into here. And we're either telling them to do it or actually we basically do it for them. So I see so many organizations that just ping pong between these two. I want to delegate to you, but I haven't done it properly, and therefore I've got to tell you what to do again. That's when you get frustrated with a person. Oh, geez, will this person not get it? They don't understand. But what we have to understand is the journey is not from here to here. The journey is actually through here. So high level of direction and high level of support is what, so this is what I would call coaching. So this is all about co-creation. So we now need to co-create the plan. We need to co-create the rules. We do it together. Okay? I'm not going to leave you on your own. I've got to work with you and provide you quite a bit of support to achieve something. Once I've done that, and I can be less directive, now I support and challenge. Okay. So I support and challenge you. So at this point, yeah, I'm telling you what to do. Here we're working on it together. Here you're going off, working it for yourself and coming back to me and I'm critiquing it. And then once you've gone through that, now I know that I can delegate it to you. And if you do make a mistake, then I don't go straight back to here. I come back up here and say, right, is it because I need to support and challenge you more, or do I actually need to coach you more? The last thing I want to do is actually go back in this box. This is, to me, is I'm back into failure. Something's wrong in the process. So when we've got a difficult individual, yeah, first thing to think is, have I made this transition too quickly from here to here? Yeah. If I haven't, then right, do I need to take you back to here for a bit, for a period, while we work on this, or do I need to take you back into here for a period? And this is where leadership takes time. You know, you've got to have time to do this. If you're rushed out, if you're doing 1,000,001 things and don't have time, then you won't do this, and therefore you'll just end up ping-ponging between these two. I don't have time to delegate it. Oh, you've done it wrong, so I'll go and fix it for you. And this is where you see a lot of busy managers, you know, are they're busy fixing everyone else's problems, not because they're incompetent, it's just because they haven't been actually coached and trained enough to actually get it done. So we've always got to look in the mirror first, you know, to actually understand whether we're able to do this. That's interesting. Okay. So that was that was the rules of the game. And the final one then is we need to now support, or sorry, support risk taking. So that was our coaching styles. And our final one is 100% involvement. So 100% involvement, 100% inclusion is about communication. So we've got to make sure that we communicate through the organisation. Now, the bigger the organisation is, the more structured our communication's got to be. If it's just two of us, yeah, it's generally quite easy because we just chat. But as we grow, you know, the fact that we used to just chat, we start to miss those things. So we've got to put in a structure of team meetings in place. And for me, team meetings are like the heartbeat of the business. So yeah, if you've got too many, you know, your heart beats too fast. If it's too few, you know, it's almost like you're dead anyway. So the right balance of meetings is important. So there should be, in my book, there should be daily meetings, there should be weekly meetings, there should be monthly meetings, quarterly meetings, annual meetings. But each set of meetings has a different purpose. Daily meetings are really about what happened yesterday, what do we need to do today? Weekly meetings, what happened last week, what do we need to do this week? Monthly meetings, looking back at the month, more strategic. The worst thing that happens with a lot of meetings is you end up doing daily stuff at the monthly meeting or monthly stuff at the daily meeting. And that's why you'll find meetings go on too long. There's a really good book around this called Death by Meeting. We had it as our book club book a little while back. And it all just goes back to, you know, how meetings become, they just go off track. You know, so you should never have a meeting without an agenda, you know, a clear purpose, the right people at those meetings. You know, so when we're putting meetings in place, we've really got to be thinking about why are we doing it, who should be there. It shouldn't just be, well, this is the way we've always done it. Because what happens as you grow, it starts off with 2 people in it, then it becomes 4 people, then it becomes 6 people, then it becomes 8 people. But really, if you were doing that meeting from scratch, you'd probably still have 2 or 3 people in it. So it's better to, I think it's better to have more shorter meetings than fewer longer meetings, because you'll keep people engaged more and more focused on what needs to be done. So, and then we come back to social events, reward systems, you know, go back to the relationship, that this is the way, that this is the glue that binds a team together, is by keeping them actually focused on what they need, you know, on the relationships that are going on. And the WIFL is a little concept that we use, you know, very successfully. WIFL stands for what I feel like expressing. So if you start a meeting with a WIFL, with a what I feel like expressing, means that it allows people to get present in that meeting. It allows people to get off their chest what they're currently thinking. Because a lot of people, and we've all done it, we go into a meeting and our head's not in the meeting. You know, we're thinking about that last customer we're dealing with, that difficult phone call we've just had. So by actually sort of saying to everybody, right, what do you feel like? Oh, I feel, yeah, I'm really stressed out. I don't really want to be in this meeting. Yeah, I've got other things to do. It gives people a chance to actually verbalize what's on their mind. And this is especially important when we're dealing with C's and S's, back to our DISC profile, who are more introverted and less likely to tell you what's on their mind. D's and I's can be far more extrovert, so they'll tell you, but C's and S's won't. So using that WIFL allows them to get it off their chest, and then you can either deal with it, you know, in a way that actually helps you move forwards. It also gives everybody a chance just to get present in the meeting before you go into the agenda of what's actually happening. So just a little technique that we use quite successfully. So those are our 6 keys. You know, we've got to be better leaders in ourselves. We've got to continue the process of leadership. We've got to be clear what our goals are. So, you know, What do we want as a company? What each department's after? What does success look like? I find too many businesses play the game of not losing, rather than trying to win. So, if you look at football, and Ranjit's just turned his back on me, but if you looked at football, those teams that try not to lose are generally the ones that lose by big scores. Those that go out and try and win, they may lose, but at least they've got a better chance of actually winning. Then we've got to have that clear plan, so everyone knows what they should be doing, the rules of the game, provide the boundaries, allow people to do it their way, get out of their way, and then make sure that our communication and our team meetings are in place to actually underpin everything. If we do all of that, we should build a great team, but occasionally it goes wrong. And where it goes wrong is sometimes we have an inattention to results. It goes back to our goals and our plan. So if we're not getting the results that we want, the question that we then ask is actually, are we providing accountability? Have we got an essence of accountability, a culture of accountability in our company, or do we let people get away with things? Because if you let people get away with things and don't provide accountability, basically your rule of the game is it's okay to cock up, it's okay to fail, it's okay not to do what you said you're going to do. And you're actually fueling that culture of the thing that you dislike the most. But if we're not getting accountability, then the question to ask is, are we getting commitment? Because it's easy around a group of people to say, yeah, I'll do that. And then next week, when I've provided the accountability, is actually, have you done it? And then if somebody's sort of done that, they will go below the line and say excuses, blame, or complete. No, I never said I was going to do that. Well, yes, you did, because it's in the minutes. Oh, yeah, but, the cat ate my homework. You're going to force that negative, below the line thinking. So if people aren't committed, why are they not committed? Well, not committed because when you asked them to do it, when you were discussing it, there was a fear of actually saying no. They just ended up with what I call nodding dog syndrome. Oh, yeah, fine. Okay. Because it's the easiest way to shut you up. I'll just agree with you. Yeah, it's fine. Yeah, we'll do that. We'll do that. But I've not actually committed to anything, and therefore you can't hold me accountable. And the reason that we don't get this fear of conflict is because deep down there's no trust in our organization. There's no trust between me and the team member I'm trying to manage. And if you've fundamentally got no trust, you have no team. You cannot do any of this stuff if you don't have a solid foundation of trust between you and your team members amongst each other. Because fundamentally, if you don't have trust, you'll never hold each other. You won't have these difficult conversations. And when I said about challenging people's beliefs, if they don't trust me that I'm doing it for their benefit, they're going to see that as an attack. And if somebody's under attack, then they're either going to run away or they're going to attack back. And you don't want that. That's not going to help you. If we're no fear of conflict, then I'm going to say things that I don't actually believe are right. I'm just going to tell you what you want to hear. And therefore you can't hold me accountable. And if you can't hold me accountable, we're never going to get any results. So what we've got to do is we've got to go back and look at our teams, and say, right, have I done the 6 keys? If I was to score myself on each of those, what would I score myself out of? Leadership, common goals, and real get a clarity where my strengths and weaknesses is. If we look at that and say, that's all pretty good, then I'd go back to this one and say, right, why am I not getting the results I want? It's because of this, and I guarantee at some point it's going to come back to a lack of trust. And that's the fundamental one you need to deal with to start with. If you're managing a group of people, if they don't trust you, then you're toast. And you see this in football teams all over the place where a good manager, is good one season, and then something happens and there's, for some reason, the trust has gone out of that team. And it's so difficult for them to get that back, which is why the manager will leave and you'll bring in another manager with the same set of players who will get more out of the players. Nothing to do with the manager, it's just because the trust is back. They trust that new person more than they trusted the old person. And we all know trust is really hard to build, but very easy to lose. You can lose trust by, one bad thing that you do, one comment you make, one, decision that you make. So you've always got to have that sort of sense about you, that self-awareness that, have I got enough trust to get these people to do what I want them to do? And the bigger the challenge, the bigger the, if you were going to take your team and climb Mount Everest, how much trust do they need with you to do that? Massive amount. If you're taking them down the shops to buy a Mars bar, probably not a lot. Okay, so think about what you're asking them to do. Is the level of trust I've got with them good enough? If it's not, what do I need to do to work on that? And sometimes that is, it's showing vulnerability. It's being open with them. It's admitting when you've failed. If you're the boss that never fails, you're never going to build any trust. Okay, so you've got to have some form of humility with this, and that's really, again, where strong leaders are humble. They don't do it because they want to be the best. They do it because they want the best out of their team. So this journey of leadership, of building teams, that's why I've been fascinated by it, because I've been in teams that have been fantastic, and I've been in teams that have been absolutely atrocious. And I always want to know why, what was going on. But when you come into the psychology and use these things, you can really identify what's good and what's bad, and then work on the bits that aren't as good and improve the bits that are good. So home fun. What I'd like you to do is think about your limiting beliefs around team. So, your negative thoughts around the team, and almost flip them over into a vision of what a great team would look like, and verbalize it. And I have this sort of saying, IVVM, idealize, visualize, verbalize. So have an idea of what it looks like, verbalize it out, and then you can materialize it, then you can make it happen. So write a statement. I'm building a team that looks like this. This is what it does. Because it'd be useful for you, but also it's good to give to your potential team members and say, look, that's what I want, guys. And they'll probably look at it and go, yeah, that's what I want as well. So where are we missing? Right, let's work on those areas. And they'll help you. Okay? And go through those 6 keys, write them down, score yourself out of 10, get your team to score it. Pass it around the team. Right, this is what it should be. What do you think it is? And they'll tell you. They'll if you ask them, they'll tell you where they think it's weak. And if you score 10 out of 10 on everything, then say, fantastic, great, now be truthful. Because no team's at 10 out of 10. There's always areas to improve upon. And all you're trying to do is do one or two improvements each month, and you'll gradually move towards having this fantastic team. Excellent. Okay, so any questions? Type it in the box if you haven't got your mic. So Julian, we've got a couple of minutes. So what was your biggest takeaway from today, and what's your number one action?
I think the biggest takeaway is get out of the way of the team and let them get on with it. Coach, I think that should be my focus going forwards now. So rather than trying to do it for them, encourage them, supervise them, and support them in their approach on it. Yeah,
it does feel like it takes longer, but your results will be quicker and they will be better.
Yeah.
So that's why you've got to make time to do that. So cool. Ali?
Something that stood out for me was about like thinking about staff inductions. I find that the managers don't take the time to really induct and support and show them the way. They're sort of, because it's so busy, and with us it's about ratios, and that's why we need new staff for, is to get them straight into the rooms.
Yeah.
So there isn't always that time to give them 100%. And then when you're being pulled as a manager in a different direction because you've got your own targets, that bit's forgotten. And I think that's probably why we've lost some staff recently, and we know that.
Yeah.
And they've realised that they need to take this time, but it's how to find that time and structure that time in their organisation. So I think that's something that I want to bring up. Well, we've been talking about it anyway, but something in the next managers meeting that we'll talk about, and really work out how we do that better.
And that's, I mean, that's a really good point, that induction is such a critical phase. And if you think about it, when you take somebody on, how long do you give them as a sort of a trial period? Is it a month, 3 months?
3 to 6 months.
So let's say 3 months, that's 13 weeks. So you need to map out, right, over 13 weeks, what does success look like? And how do we achieve that? And then you have a copy, you give a copy to them and say, look, our job is to work with you over 13 weeks to tick all these boxes. Yeah, because if you give it to them, they'll then hold you accountable to say, look, the reason I failed is because you haven't helped me tick all these boxes.
Yeah.
So it's a two-way thing. You want them to succeed and they want to succeed. So come up with a formula for what success looks like. Yeah, put a checklist together. They have a copy, you have a copy. Now, often we do that, and you get halfway through that period, and you haven't done it. But it's a reminder. Oh shit, yeah, we do need to put a bit more time in.
Yeah.
Excellent, good. Chris, do you want to type? If you haven't got your mic, do you want to type something? So Claire, takes longer than issue, but the benefits keep giving are invaluable. Yeah. Read that. Oh, so yeah, it's about, again, taking ownership yourself and working on yourself as a leader. That's a key thing. So, Damien. Oh, seem to have lost. Don't have audio, Damien.
Hello, is that better?
That's better. Yeah.
I was just going to ask about that. The disc, is that, where do you find out about that?
So disc, if you're on a coaching program, which you are, then I can send you a link to get your disc profile done.
Okay.
So and then if we can do the team as well, and they're about 25 quid each for a profile. So,
yeah, obviously there's only 3 of us. So
there's only 3 of you, so yeah, so we can sort something out for you for that one. So
cool.
Excellent, good. And Chris G's was the iceberg. Yeah, really thinking about where it goes wrong in there, and understanding that our job is to take it down to, as managers, as employers, it's really about skills and beliefs. Yeah, if it's values and identity, we don't go there. If there's a mixed match of values and identity, as we had, Roger, with your guy, the best thing we can do is let that person go. Yeah, but when we do induct, when we bring people, that's what we've got to make sure that we do. So Roger, regular reviews, yeah, quarterly appraisals, and they're not, an appraisal can be 20 minutes. Okay, it really can be, but always think an appraisal, 3 things: performance review. I'm not assessing you. I'm here on your behalf to say how you think your performance was. Here's your report card. How can we get your performance better over the next quarter? Yeah, personal growth, what do you need to learn? And relationships, how are you fitting in with the organization? What could be better around that? And just have a discussion around that, but come up with a plan of, right, what do you need to do and what do we need to do? What do I need to do to actually improve this? So you're holding each other accountable, okay, to move forwards. Cool. Gary?
Hi there. Yeah, I don't know how this is on topic or off topic, but something that stood out to me was when you were saying to Ranjit about who does your finances, and he's like, me. Who's the director? Me. Who does the sales? Me. HR? Me. Operations? Me. So I'm really rubbish with note taking, but that's kind of what I wrote down, is all the positions that I have the title of.
Yeah.
And it kind of has made me realize that I need to allocate time to all of these, because I don't have a team yet. I am the team. And so as much as getting all the like the training side and all that done, the leadership growth, I need to write down all my titles and actually allocate time for them so that I can grow sort of steadily through each one, rather than just being, let's say, focused on operations, which property maintenance, that's kind of what all I'm doing right now. It's doing the work, getting the turnover. But that means as finance director, well, I like that, I'm pretty rubbish because I don't really do much in it, and I don't read books on it, and I don't grow in it. So it's kind of learning the scales. So like each position needs to go up in learning together, rather than just be great at one and rubbish at the other.
I'd say, start, if you put these, even when you're early on, put these processes in place. So appraisal, I'm going to appraise myself once a quarter in each of these roles. So what's one thing I can learn in finance? What's one thing I can learn in marketing and sales?
Yeah, so that's kind of
and then your job obviously is then to pass that hat over to somebody else as you go, but you've got to understand that role, because you're going to have to coach that person in that role when they come in. So, or you've got to pay them a lot of money to come in with the skills. So it's time and money. So you either pay in money or you pay in time. So,
yeah, but yeah, it's good to know a bit about everything, because at the moment, where I am still like a one-man band, I have to do everything on my own. I can't really afford to outsource anything yet. I know I want to so badly, admin, just take it, do it, but I just cannot afford it right now. So probably in the new year, I'll get someone in to do my admin
and
stuff.
all of these apply if you take on subcontractors, if you outsource it, it's still relevant. They're still part of your team.
Yeah.
So whether you employ them or not, it doesn't matter. You're still thinking the same process. Common goal, clarity, plans, rules, etc.
The question, well, this is something I have to deal with, and I don't know whether it's different over different industries, but this industry that I'm in, so what am I into? Property maintenance. It's been a long day. So property maintenance, now the caliber of laborers I get is not a great level of caliber of person. Some of them have actually been kicked out of school, not even college or uni. They actually just got kicked out of school. One of them never even went to school, and I'm just like, oh my gosh. So growing in leadership is something I have to have patience for, because I'm not getting people come through the door that are actually educated or willing so much, or have a positive attitude, or there's nothing positive about them at all. So I've got that real big challenge to.
I think obviously intellect is learning to do a particular skill. You don't need intellect to be a great employee or even a great manager or even a great business owner. But what you need is the right attitude.
Yeah.
If you've got the right attitude, you can train for skills. But attitude in the people you come up with. So values and identity is far more important than skills and beliefs, because you can do things about skills and beliefs. You can't do anything about values and identity. So have they got the right work ethic? Have they got a good the right sort of persona that you can work with, and can you mold them? But if you've got somebody that doesn't have that, then I wouldn't even bother trying. It's just too much like hard work. I always say, you've got to come with the attitude. I'll give you the skills.
Yeah.
But if you come with the skills but with the wrong attitude, I can't give you the attitude. It's just. So your job, if you're taking on those people, is okay, fine. You might not have done well at school, but there's 101 reasons people don't do well at school. What I want to see though is some attitude as something that you've done that shows you've got an ability to learn and apply yourself.
Yeah.
That might be, you know, well, what do you do outside of work? You know, do you play computer games? Great. Well, how do you play better at computer games? Are you competitive at computer games? You know, if you just sit there in a mind-induced coma, I can't work with that. There's nothing for me to build on.
Yeah, I just off topic, I had one guy come in stoned every morning. He just climbed in my van stinking of weed, and I'm just like, oh my gosh.
What sort of identity and values is that? You know,
It was one day's work. That was it. I was like, no, mate.
yeah.
So
yeah. So you know, Claire, engagement. You know, engagement is, go back to that 10-pin bowling game. The way I engaged with, you know, with Gary about the game is be clear what the game is, show him how it's scored, and then get out of his way. That's engagement. You know, performance, motivation, relationships. That's engagement. So it's simple, but it's not easy. You know, how do we get relationships better? How do we get personal growth better? One thing on personal growth is you do find people in a job that have got all the skills. There are no more courses they can go on. They don't really want to improve in their role. Yeah, I would look at those people and say, fine, that's great. But your personal growth is still a key to your motivation. So what can I spend your education budget on? So outside of work, what do you want to do? So do you want to do guitar lessons? Do you want to do singing lessons? You know, what skill do you want to learn outside of work that is going to help you become better at whatever you do? And then give them £100 a year, you know, to invest in some lessons. But you know, if whatever you show them, they've got to show you some form, you know, what they've done with it. Because I don't care whether you're, you know, if you're motivated, you know, I want you motivated outside of work, and you bring that motivation into work. So don't always think the personal growth needs to be work related. It is, if they're at the top of their game, then it can be outside of work. Cool. Excellent. So Chris G, are you the same as Chris Guy, or we got two Chris G's? Okay, cool. Two computers. Lovely. Okay. So brilliant. Well, hopefully you've got some bits there to work on. I haven't been around everybody. So Roger, what was your biggest takeaway, and one thing you're going to do as a result?
Well, I think I'm going to be making sure that I give Wendy a proper review of every report and every job that she does.
Yeah.
Not just 5 minutes, but just to say what went well, what didn't well, what go well, how profitable was it, all that sort of thing. Just
Cool.
look at main stats and
Yep.
And how it could do better next time. And if she can't improve, what other sort of areas of development can we identify?
Yeah. Cool. Good. Ranjit?
Yes, the Whiffle thing, which I've already got on the meetings board as a first thing to do. Engaging with employees and how better to do that. So there's some great strategies there, and also getting out of the way of employees.
Yeah.
Trying less micromanagement.
Yeah. If you've done the other bits right, then you can do that.
Yeah.
If you feel you've got to micromanage, it's generally because you haven't done the top part.
Yeah.
So. Cool. Great. Claire, have you got anything else to add? I know you're typing in. What was your number one takeaway? And do you think typing? Listen and develop. Okay, cool. Excellent. So thanks, guys, for coming on. Hopefully you'll take that away and put it into action. And we've got in 2 weeks' time, we've got our customer mastery workshop. So that retaining customers, how do we get more out of what we've got? And so if you want to come back to that one, please do. Otherwise, keep an eye on the regular emails of events we've got coming up, and hopefully we'll see you in the next one. So take care. Bye for now.
Thanks, Kevin.
Cheers, Kev.
Ta-da.